Iran is flexing its military muscle and warning of fresh wars. From building secret arms factories abroad to testing new warheads at sea, Tehran is sending a message. It won't back down. Top commanders boast of weapons not yet revealed, while security chiefs warn Israel the fight isn't over, and Europe that any sanctions snapback will mean armed negotiations. Iran has established arms production facilities in several countries, but will not disclose their names for now, Defense Minister Aziz Nasirzadeh said in a televised interview on the night of August 22nd.
We have built weapons factories in some countries, but for now, we will not announce which ones. Iran had tested new warheads in the past year that are both advanced and maneuverable.
His remarks came as Iran's Navy test-fired cruise missiles at surface targets in the Gulf of Oman and northern Indian Ocean during large-scale exercises on August 21st. The maneuvers followed joint Iran-Russia drills known as Kasarex 2025 in the Caspian Sea a month earlier. Meanwhile, Nasirzadeh said the Israeli regime might not have been able to protect itself in the face of Iran's retaliatory prowess if the war had lasted more than 12 days. He further said that if the enemy resorts to another aggression, Iran will certainly deploy equipment that has not been deployed yet. The official cited the country's Qasem Basir missile as one of the country's projectiles that were not wheeled out throughout the defensive and retaliatory operations that took place in the face of the Israeli regime's and the United States' unprovoked war in June. Meanwhile, congratulating Brigadier General Aziz Nasirzadeh on Defense Industry Day, General Hatami, in a message, praised the close cooperation between the Army and the Ministry of Defense in advancing Iran's defensive capabilities. He stressed that the Islamic Republic, under the guidance of leader of the Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, has achieved rapid and powerful progress in defense technology despite what he termed oppressive Western sanctions. Later, in a message marking the country's National Defense Industry Day on August 22nd, the commander of the Islamic Revolution Guards Corps, IRGC, Major General Mohammad Pakpour praised Iran's defense achievements. Today, relying on these capabilities, the Islamic Republic stands at the peak of its deterrence power. Referring to the recent 12-day war involving the United States and Israel against Iran, Pakpour said the episode showed once again that comprehensive power building and reliance on domestic capacity prevent adversaries from realizing their objectives and deter further aggression. Pakpour also issued a warning to Iran's adversaries, stating that the armed forces remain vigilant under the leadership of the commander-in-chief. Any miscalculation by the enemy will be met with a decisive, swift and regretful response. He also said that IRGC forces are at the apex of readiness to give a crushing response to Zionist enemy in case of any renewed aggression. He further emphasized that Iran's military is at full readiness to give a more crushing blow to the Israeli regime if any aggression is renewed. Meanwhile, the Islamic Republic's top security official Ali Larijani said 2 months after a US brokered ceasefire put an end to a 12-day war between Iran and Israel that Iran must remain prepared for a fresh round of conflict as the war with Israel is not over. The Islamic Republic needs to create capacities so that the enemy will not be tempted to take action again, Larijani said in an interview with the Supreme Leader's official website, published on August 22nd. He further stressed that diplomacy remains a central tool for the Islamic Republic, but only when conducted in good faith.
My advice has always been that Iran must never abandon diplomacy, because diplomacy itself is a tool. The Islamic Revolution leader has also asserted that the flag of negotiation must always be held in our hands. That is absolutely correct.
Larijani, however, cautioned that negotiations cannot succeed if the West uses them as cover for hostile actions.
If the enemy turns the diplomatic scene into a theater, or uses it merely to justify another course of action, then that is not diplomacy. But if diplomacy means that we realize war is useless and we want peace, then that is real diplomacy.
Larijani underscored the importance of national unity, readiness, and trust in leadership as key to victory in the 12-day Israeli-American war of aggression. He emphasized that resistance, faith, and people's participation ensured the country's defense, post-war recovery, and strengthened the resistance axis regionally. Talks between Iran and European powers made no progress, as a deadline looms for the re-imposition of UN sanctions on Tehran under the so-called SNAPBACK mechanism. The E3 have warned Iran they would restore UN sanctions by the end of August unless it reopened talks on its nuclear program immediately and produced concrete results before the deadline. Iran is set to resume its nuclear talks with France, Germany, and the United Kingdom, the E3, on August 26th. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said on August 22nd, following a phone call with his British, French, and German counterparts as well as the EU foreign policy chief. During the call, Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi outlined Tehran's position on the so-called SNAPBACK mechanism in the 2015 nuclear deal, warning the European powers and the EU against what he called their lack of legal authority to invoke the measure. He cautioned that resorting to such a step would have serious consequences. Araghchi said Iran remained committed to diplomacy, but would continue to defend its rights and interests.
Just as the Islamic Republic acts firmly in self-defense, it has never abandoned diplomacy and is prepared for any solution that guarantees the rights and interests of the Iranian people.
Responding to European suggestions of extending UN Security Council Resolution 2231 to allow more time for negotiations, Araghchi said such a decision lay with the Council itself. He added Tehran would continue consultations with its partners at the United Nations on the implications of such a move. The European ministers and EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas reiterated their readiness to pursue a diplomatic solution, the statement said. Meanwhile, a senior Iranian diplomat warned Europe that triggering the UN's snapback mechanism to restore sanctions would squander its leverage and harden Tehran's nuclear stance. Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister, Saeed Khatibzadeh, told Germany's Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung on August 21st that Europe had no right to reimpose lapsed sanctions under the 2015 nuclear deal. He warned that any future talks on Iran's nuclear program would be armed negotiations.
If we return to negotiations, it will be an armed negotiation. We will all have our fingers on the trigger because we do not trust the other side.
Khatibzadeh again rejected US demands for zero enrichment. Iran will not be treated as an exception to international law. The right to enrichment is non-negotiable, although the level and details can be discussed.